This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs.
Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a top 8 breakdown of the EU BT10 DC-1 that happened this past weekend. Normally I like to stick into North America, and normally I like to do a top 16, but honestly, this is all I could get for a tournament, and I just wanted to cover more of BT10 because we don't get a lot of tournaments in North America. We're going to have 2 events without the ban list, and then 1 with the ban list, and then EX3 is free to the world. So I just wanted to cover as much as I could, and this was readily available, at least the top 8 lists, so we did want to go over them. So shoutouts to the Bandai Twitter and Facebook pages for posting this. If you're not following those, you probably should already. And I don't have the names. I don't know how many players there were, and I'm sorry I don't have more information like that, but I did want to cover some of these deck lists, so that is what we're doing today. Going into this top 8 breakdown, we do have 2 Cross Hearts, 2 Alphamon, 2 MetalGaruru X, a DarkKnightmon, which DarkKnightmon is like most of the reason I wanted to cover this event anyways, as well as a Black War Greymon. So honestly, I don't think this is very surprising to anyone. Crossheart did end up winning the event, so that is interesting. That's pretty much the first since like a non-Japanese meta that we've seen a Shoutmon take the event. So because in North America and in Latin America, the events that I have been covering, it has not won. It's not been the winning deck. So now obviously Crossheart and Alphamon are getting hard hit on this next ban list. MetalGarurumon should be hit in this next ban list, as well as just 2 decks that can readily run some Death X-Mons. So not that Death X-Mon's not hiding in some of these other builds either. So anyways, we are going to do the top 8 breakdowns. And again, I'm sorry I don't have the names, but let's go to the first place Crossheart. Starting off, we do have the first place Crossheart list, and there's nothing I would say too spicy about this one in general. It is pretty much the standard formula of running pretty much all of the level 3s and level 4s, as well as 4 of the ×4 and 3 of the ×5. 2 Death Xmon in this one too, so pretty much like 3 cards that should be hit. The Death X, the Shoutmon X4, and the Sunrise Buster in this one. So very, very strong cards in a deck like this as well. Choosing to make the Tamers, so 4/4 split between the Akari and the Mikey, 2 of the Zenjiro, as well as 3 of the Tai and Kari, and then 1 of the Tai with Security Attack +1 and setting your memory 3, as well as 1 Christopher to help you also just like a backup version of the Taiki for your Digi cross effect. So nothing too spectacular here. I mean, this is a really well-known archetype in the sense that you have to pretty much run like 40 cards guaranteed, and then you have those extra 10 to kind of wiggle around with. But it's such a hard to kind of change core for something like this. But I don't know, like this just pretty much runs all of the options of things you want to do, obviously at lower quantities than you could be running them. For example, 2 Death X, 2 Crimson Blaze, 3 Sunrise Busters, and like but obviously going wide with a bunch of different options to do a lot of different things against a bunch of matchups can help you out there. And obviously getting first in a tournament means you probably were able to snipe those snipe those cards into what you wanted to do for it. So congrats to the first place list here. And then next up, we do have the second place DarkKnightmon. And as I said earlier, like most of the reason I wanted to cover these top 8 is because I saw DarkKnightmon, and it is one of my favorite just archetypes in the game right now. It's super duper fun, and I really want to promote it and say you guys should be trying this archetype. I think you guys will enjoy it more than you think, and the fact that it got second also just cements to me that it is something that is viable, and it's just very, very strong. So pretty much the idea with this is just you get the new Twilight stuff, and really the thing that turned me off from this list was the original run of cards weren't very strong. Just the Skull Knightmon, the Deadly Axemon, as well as the Dark Knightmon. They're all just pretty just generically weak. And it's just, there wasn't a top end at all. And because of that, just like, oh, this is just a bad, just filler cards that didn't need to be needed. And they didn't really do anything. But the new support with the Axe mode, with the new Dark Knightmon as well, that lets you Digicross to reduce, and then just the fact that you have your pieces underneath it is very strong. And the Dark Knightmon X antibody, just being able to have inherent tamer destruction on a card like this is fantastic. And then if it gets deleted, you get to recur into a Dark Knightmon, which means you can use this effect to digivolve something on play. Like, all of this is very, very strong. And as long as you don't get something that is either actively digivolving you or bouncing you back to hand, this deck is amazing. So I like that there. There's just some really strong cards you can run. Jinkurimon is very good. And just like the Skull Knightmon being able to do like a quick, security attack +1. There's a bunch of reach in this deck. And I'm very, very happy they got second. It's really nice. And I'm going to have to be trying this deck more myself if I end up doing any tournaments in the next couple of weeks. So really like this deck, and congrats again to second place there. Going to our third place list, it is an Alphamon, and they are running one Ryumon, so that's new. It gains blocker, so that's fun. Everything else, there's also 2 Chikurimon as well from the new starter deck, so these are new adds. I'd say the rest of this deck is pretty standard. Obviously, we are losing Duro Greymon. It is going to 1. And it's going to be really difficult to see if this deck still gets played. The security attack +1 on Duro Greymon is kind of the thing I think that breaks it. But if this had no inheritable, I think the auto when digivolving is really what makes the deck playable. And the security attack +1 just is the extra boost that makes it broken, I think, right? Not the other way around. So by losing the protection on the when digivolving effect from this consistently, I think this deck really, really doesn't survive. Because honestly, my opinion is that it probably got banned because the security attack +1 stacks you could put under this got pretty aggressive, and that was pretty tough to do. But you could lose that, and I think the deck would still be viable, but losing the card overall is just kind of what makes it very, very rough. And not having a consistent level 5 to do your plays into, and not having the protection from this anymore just really stinks. So I think people might try it. I don't know how they're going to do about it. It stinks that Dex Duro Gray also is just, there's not like a even vanilla Duro Greymon to digivolve on top of for your effects. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's very strong, obviously. And I think this needed to be hit in one way or the other, but it just thinks there's nothing that really takes its place. And it just reminds me of like when Savior Huckmon got limited to 1. The deck just didn't see any play anymore, not because that card was so broken, but just because there's nothing to replace it. And again, with like the Jet Sylphimon, right? Jet Sylphimon got limited to 1, and since you didn't just have a generic hybrid to go up your chain, it was very right. Again, if Jet Sylphy only said you could digivolve for 1 on top of a level 4 with a hybrid or with a tamer underneath it, deck could still be played, and it's the recover 1 that made it go from good to great, right? And probably the reason it got banned. But we'll see what happens in the future. But I don't expect to see this deck doing anything anymore, but I could be wrong there. Next up, we're going to go to 6th place MetalGaruru X, and this deck is just trucking, and it's very good, and it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon unless they make a ban change with it. And I honestly, you guys can let me know if I'm off base on this one, but I think something needs to change with this deck. It's too aggressive for what it is. It's too easy to do what you're doing. There's inherent protection with it, and it's just very, very strong. Just the Garurumon being able to dual attack with it is great. You build a bunch of advantage for making your chains anyways, and then the Garurumon X is just strong there too. Not a lot of decks are playing any security control is a deck, but they're not as prevalent as I think they have been. And just the fact that this has protection with the Garuru X as well. You guys have played against this deck. You have your own opinions on it. And it's just very, very absurd to me that this deck is still trucking as much as it could. And even if this card was banned, this is probably the problem card in my mind. Just the fact that it gives you the dual attack as well as the security attack +1 on inheritable is that you could get rid of this Garurumon. You could put in a different Garurumon because there's a lot of them. It's probably obviously more than Savior Huckmons at the time, Duro Greymons at the time, right? And the deck would still be viable and playable, right? But with Garurumon at 4 and doing what it does, it's just very strong, and you can take advantage of a lot of easy chip damage that can, if you get lucky enough, which you get lucky more than you'd expect to, you just win the game because you do 3 damage on like turn 2 or 3. So that's very, very strong there. I do like the add of the Omnimon X antibody. This is a really cool card. And if you get this off pretty consistently, it's fun and strong at the same time. Being able to look through your opponent's security and do what you need to do just means that a deck like this lets you not need to run the red package and the security attack stuff, because you can check the security, discard the one that you don't like, and then kind of go from there. So I think it's strong, and I think that I'm really surprised I haven't been seeing as much like the War Greymon builds with the X antibody on top, because I think that could be a strong add for the deck as well. But deck's strong. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and we'll see it probably at the top tables until it gets hit at any time. So that's going to be there. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the 7th place list, Black War Greymon here. And I think this was probably one of the, I don't know, this deck's been trucking for a long time, at least in Digimon standards, right? It's just been slowly getting more and more advantage. The X antibody package with the Agumons did help out the deck a lot, just because of how flexible that packages in general, and just generates a lot of value and cycle and consistency with a deck like this. This is also an archetype that just inherently has Tamer Destruction, which traditionally against the stuff with Cross Hearts and everything else, they need those Tamers, pretty badly. And so any kind of inherent Tamer Destruction means that you get rid of the Tamer, but you also get rid of all of the materials they've saved, and normally that can just end the game for them on the spot if you get rid of enough materials and enough sources from them, when a deck inherently does that anyways as part of their game plan, you don't have to like change your deck up to address that. I think that's very strong in its own right. So Black War Greymon's doing good. We did see like Megadramon added to the main to help Tamer and just like rookie destruction as well, and also a Zwart defeat in there too, just to make sure that you can get some pops. And it's just great in security too, and of course Death Xmon, which why not? You can put this literally in any deck, and sometimes you play it and you win the game. So why would you not run one or two, especially when it's on color for like a deck like this? So that is this deck, and congrats again to 7th place for their finish. And that is the breakdown. Again, I'm sorry I don't have the top 16 like I normally do, but I did want to cover this event in general. And honestly, I just want to talk about DarkKnightmon because I love this deck very, very much. So that is going to be the video for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I will catch you all next time.